Taking you to the UK now. It's a crucial day and a crucial few hours ahead for Theresa May's Brexit deal. Let's cut straight now to the UK Parliament.
The Rail Minister resigned last week, saying to present the nation with a choice between two deeply unattractive outcomes, vassalage and chaos, is a failure of British statecraft on a scale unseen since the Suez Crisis, and that from a Tory MP. Last night, the EU's lead Brexit negotiator reportedly told the 27 European ambassadors the UK must align their rules, but the EU will retain all the controls. Is that a fair summary of the Prime Minister's deal?
Prime Minister!
Can I say to the right honourable gentleman, as I have said all along throughout these negotiations, what we are doing is negotiating a good deal for the United Kingdom. We're negotiating a deal that delivers on the vote of the British people, that takes back control of our money law and borders, that ensures we leave the common fisheries policy, we leave the customs union, we leave the common agricultural policy, but we protect jobs, we protect security, and we protect the integrity of the United Kingdom.
Jeremy Corbyn!
Mr. Speaker, under the Prime Minister's deal, we're going to spend years with less say over our laws or how our money is spent. And the International Trade Secretary said last week that the decision to withdraw from any backstop agreement could not be contracted to somebody else. Can the Prime Minister confirm whether under her deal it will be the sovereign right of the UK Parliament to unilaterally withdraw from any backstop?
Prime Minister!
I say to the right honourable gentleman, there needs to be a backstop as an insurance policy. There needs to be a backstop as an insurance policy, but neither side actually wants us to be in that backstop because we want to bring the future relationship into place at the end of December 2020. And I'm aware of the concerns that there are, that we don't want to be in a position where the European Union would find it comfortable to keep the United Kingdom in the backstop permanently. And that's why any backstop has to be temporary.
Jeremy Corbyn!
Mr. Speaker, I think that non-answer has confirmed that Parliament won't have that sovereign right. Mr. Speaker, the International Trade Secretary breezily declared he'd have 40 trade deals ready to be signed the second after midnight when we leave the EU.
How's it going?
Well, with 4 months to go, can the Prime Minister tell us exactly how many of these 40 deals have been negotiated?
Prime Minister!
We are doing two things. First of all, we are negotiating to ensure that we maintain the trade deals that currently exist with the European Union when we leave the...
I'm sorry. It's not acceptable for members to shout at the Prime Minister when she's answering questions. We've been talking recently in this chamber about respect and good behaviour. On both sides, the person who has the floor must be heard. And that's the end of the matter. The Prime Minister.
We have been negotiating on two fronts. We're negotiating on the continuity agreements, which ensure that those trade deals that we've been party to as a member of the European Union are able to continue when we leave the European Union. And we have also started discussions with other countries about the trade deals that we can forge across the world once we leave the European Union. But I say to the right honourable gentleman, if he's interested in trade deals, he really needs to sort out the Labour Party's position on this issue. Because originally they said that they wanted to do trade deals around the rest of the world. Now he says he wants to be in the customs union. That would stop him from doing trade deals around the rest of the world. We know what's good for this country, an independent trade policy and trade deals, good trade deals with Europe and with the rest of the world.
Jeremy Corbyn!
Mr. Speaker, the International Trade Secretary is not the only one who doesn't understand international trade rules. And he's not the only one in the Cabinet. And he's not the only one in the Cabinet that doesn't understand a few things. The Brexit Secretary said last week, and I quote, "I hadn't previously understood the extent of this, but we are particularly reliant on the Dover to Calais crossing." When did the Prime Minister become aware of this absolutely shocking revelation about Britain's trade routes?
The Prime Minister!
really have to say to the right honourable gentleman, he stands here and reads out something that says that we don't know about trade policy. We do know about trade policy. That's exactly why we're negotiating the continuity agreements. It's why we'll be taking our place as an independent state in the World Trade Organization. But he wants to talk about different positions that are being taken. What we're doing is delivering a good deal that will deliver on the vote of the British people. We're delivering Brexit. What have we seen recently from the Labour Party? Well, the Labour leader said we can't stop Brexit. The shadow Brexit secretary said we can stop it. So when he stands up, he should make it clear. Is it Labour Party policy to stop Brexit?
Jeremy Corbyn!
Mr. Speaker, Labour respects the result of the referendum. But what we don't respect is the shambolic mess that this government has made of negotiations. The mess they've created that they can't now get themselves out of. We won't let them destroy this country's economy or the jobs and life chances of so many others. And, Mr. Speaker, if the Brexit Secretary is still in office by the time the Cabinet meets this afternoon, could she take him on one side and have a quiet word with him and tell him that 10,000 lorries arrive at Dover every day, handling 17% of this country's entire trade in goods, estimated to be £122 billion last year. This woeful ignorance by a person in high office is disturbing to so many people. This government, Mr. Speaker, has spent 2 years negotiating a bad deal that will leave the country in an indefinite halfway house without a real say. Yet they think they can impose a false choice on Parliament between a half-baked deal or no deal, when a sensible alternative plan could bring together.
No matter how long it takes, the right honourable gentleman will not be shouted down in the House of Commons. It's as simple and unarguable as that. Jeremy Corbyn.
Mr. Speaker, when a sensible alternative plan could bring together Parliament and the country. Even Conservative MPs say the Prime Minister is offering a choice between the worst of all worlds and a catastrophic series of consequences. When will the Prime Minister recognise that neither of these options is acceptable?
The right honourable gentleman talks about woeful ignorance. I'll tell him where the woeful ignorance lies. It lies on a Labour Party front bench that thinks you can build a better economy by spending £1,000 billion more, putting up people's taxes and destroying jobs. The real threat to jobs and growth in this country sits on the Labour Party front bench. And I'll tell him what we're delivering in relation to Brexit. He says, what about Brexit? Yes, I'll tell him what we're delivering on Brexit. We will not rerun the referendum. We will not renege on the decision of the British people. We will leave the customs union, we will leave the common fisheries policy, we will leave the common agricultural policy, and we will take back control of our money, laws and borders. We will deliver Brexit, and the United Kingdom is leaving the European Union on the 29th of March 2019.
Mr. Peter Bone.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Is the Prime Minister aware that if the media reports about the EU agreement are in any way accurate, you are not delivering the Brexit people voted for, and today you will lose the support of many Conservative MPs and millions of voters across the country?
Prime Minister!
Can I say to my honourable friend,
Members must calm themselves. I've often advised taking some sort of soothing medicament, and people may feel better in consequence. I want to hear what the Prime Minister has to say, and I hope the House has the courtesy to want to do so as well. The Prime Minister.
Can I say to my honourable friend that what we have been negotiating is a deal that does deliver on the vote of the British people. In the list that I set out earlier, I left out one of the things that the British people are very keen to see from this deal, which is an end to free movement, and we will ensure that we are delivering on that, as well as those other elements that I have set out. What we're doing is a deal that delivers on that vote, but in doing so protects jobs, protects the integrity of our United Kingdom, and protects the security of people in this country.
Ian Blackford.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Scottish National Party, with other opposition leaders, have written to the Prime Minister, urging her to drop plans to prevent a truly meaningful vote on the Brexit deal. Shamefully, it seems that the government is seeking to prevent opposition amendments to the deal, effectively gagging the sovereignty of Parliament by playing dirty tricks on procedures. Can I ask the Prime Minister, what is she afraid of? Is her government so weak that the Brexit deal will not succeed when other solutions are still on the table?
Prime Minister.
To the right honourable gentleman, we have been very clear that there will be a meaningful vote in this House. We have also been clear that the motion on the deal will be amendable. But I also say to the right honourable gentleman that I think if you went out and asked any member of the public, when the government brings a deal back from Europe, what do you expect Parliament to vote on? I think they would expect Parliament to vote on the deal.
Ian Blackford.
Expect Parliament to take its responsibilities, which is holding the government to account and to amend the deal. This Prime Minister is hamstrung, divided, desperate and looking defeated. In a total panic, the Prime Minister has been reduced to playing political games rather than playing fair. Mr. Speaker, this is not a game. The SNP will never ever gamble with Scotland's future. There is only one lifeline left. To protect jobs in Scotland, we must stay in the single market and the customs union. The Prime Minister will not drag Scotland out against its will. If there is a deal to protect the economy in Northern Ireland, why not Scotland?
Minister.
The gentleman stands up and says that the SNP will not gamble with Scotland's future. I say to him, the SNP gambles with Scotland's future every time it stands up and talks about independence.
No Doherty.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Figures released yesterday show that for the first time ever, more than half of disabled people are now in work, including many military veterans. So will the Prime Minister join me in thanking those employers who have signed up to the Disability Confidence Scheme, which has allowed such great strides to be made in this area?
Minister.
Yes, well, can I say to my honourable friend that, first of all, it is very good news to see more disabled people getting into the workplace, and I'm grateful to him for raising the Disability Confidence Scheme. And I'd like to praise the work of my right honourable friend, the Secretary of State for Work and Pensions, who created and personally championed this scheme since it started back in 2013. As my honourable friend obviously knows, it works directly with employers. It aims to challenge perceptions of what it means to employ a disabled person, and we will continue to ensure that we're giving every possible effort to make sure that more disabled people who want to be in the workplace are able to take their place in the workplace.
Chris Elmore.
The Prime Minister's likely Brexit agreement will leave our country economically weaker, mean that we take EU rules without any say, and give years of uncertainty for business. Not my words, the words of her latest ministerial resignation, or at least the latest as far as we know. Does she agree with him, and isn't it about time she admitted that there is little to no support for her reckless plan in her cabinet, and even less in Parliament?
Prime Minister.
The honourable gentleman, as I have said earlier, what we're negotiating is a deal that will deliver on the vote, that will actually ensure that, and the proposals that we put forward in the summer, to ensure that we're able to see that frictionless trade across borders, that free trade area with the European Union, and gives Parliament a lock on those rules.
Antoinette Sandbach.
Mr. Speaker. In 2017, ministers committed to provide visualisations of the rolling stock depot and viaducts proposed in my constituency by HS2. After a whole year of delaying, HS2 are now refusing to deliver on this commitment and ignoring ministers. Will the Prime Minister ensure that within the next week my constituents get the visualisations of the viaducts and rolling stock depot they were promised, so they're able to comment on the draft environmental statement?
Prime Minister! Honourable friend, I recognise the concern that her constituents have raised about this issue, and indeed would like to thank her for the hard work that she has undertaken in order to campaign on this issue on her constituents' behalf. I understand that my right honourable friend, the Transport Secretary, is aware of this issue. He is urgently looking into it, and I would encourage my honourable friend to continue to engage with the Transport Secretary on this matter, so that to ensure that her constituents get what they were promised.
Marion Fellow.
Mr. Speaker, post offices are closing in their hundreds as postmasters struggle to make a living on the contract introduced by this government. Through its North Star initiative, the publicly owned post office is aiming for £100 million of profit by 2021, while postmasters' pay has declined by £107 million since 2012. Will the Prime Minister take action now to save our post office network and intervene to ensure postmasters get a fair rate?
Prime Minister.
Can I say to the Honourable Lady that obviously we have seen a change to our post office network across the United Kingdom, and that has happened as people's pattern of behaviour in relation to these matters has changed. I'm sure the post office is making decisions that they believe are right for local communities to ensure that the services are there where they are needed.
I would.
Reductions in business rates will help thousands of small and medium-sized shops, restaurants and pubs in our town centre. Will the Prime Minister commit to continue to work for fundamental reform of local business taxation so that our local shops and businesses of all sorts can compete fairly with the online giants?
Prime Minister.
Can I say to my honourable friend that to thank him for raising the fact and referring in this House to the fact that we are raising the we are changing business rates and bringing in.